But beyond their beauty, these plants carry a fascinating history, both medicinal and cultural. When you cut open a leaf, a bitter yellow sap begins to ooze out. As it dries, it hardens into dark crystals, long prized for their medicinal properties. This substance has been used for centuries as a natural laxative, but local traditions have passed down far broader uses. The gel and sap are said to treat everything from dandruff to acne, hepatitis, herpes, osteoporosis, and more. It's a virtual pharmacy in a single plant. Their power and presence even echo into our history. To the San and the Khoi, the aloe ferox was so revered that, along with the aloe brumei, it's the only plant ever depicted in their ancient rock art. In the early morning mist, they rise like red-coated soldiers, standing proud and regimented. In fact, historical records tell us that British troops once fired upon them, mistaking their silhouettes on the ridges for red-blanketed Xhosa warriors. And from the Xhosa themselves, we hear another kind of legend. They tell of aloe warriors springing from the earth by the thousands, the flowers their spears, the leaves their shields, the tall stems their bodies. There is even the tale of a slave who taught his farmer the ancient method of tapping aloes to harvest the bitter lump, a product so valuable it was exported by the Dutch East India Company to Europe. And even today, aloe ferox remains woven into everyday life of the amaXhosa, used to treat wounds, including those from traditional circumcision, burned as mosquito repellent, and ground into snuff. And let's not forget the farmers, because for generations in the Eastern Cape, they've placed aloe ferox leaves in livestock water to ward off ticks and intestinal worms. Remarkably, this humble plant is not only vital locally, it's globally significant. Aloe ferox is the most commercially traded indigenous plant in South Africa, and one of the most highly traded botanical species in the world. So the next time you pass a flowering aloe on the roadside or out in the veld, pause for a moment. There's far more to that plant than meets the eye. There are so many other stories and wonders here in the Eastern Cape. All I can say is take your time to marvel at its wonders whilst being part of this amazing event. To everyone, immerse yourself in this opportunity. Take it in, suck it up, and above all, enjoy yourself. So on behalf of Safari Guide of the Year 2025, welcome, and let the games begin. Give us some information about. Amen.
Evening, everyone. I told Cameron that I'd and ah a bit, so that when he tells his story, it's okay. I know everyone has welcomed everyone, but from Kariega's side, we would like to welcome, number one, Safari Guide of the Year. Obviously, all the sponsors that come with it, but for us, the most important is introducing the Eastern Cape to the world, more specifically, obviously, South Africa, but to the world. And the 5 contestants over there, do not for 1 minute think that you're not the people at the forefront of it all. So welcome to Kariega. I know I spoke to you, Wayne, and I spoke to you earlier on, and pull on us and use us. A little hint is that through this little introduction to Kariega, there might be some questions for certain potjie competitions that I might be giving some answers to. So I know it's a bit dark, you can't take notes, but hopefully your memory's good. So from Kariega's side, we are extremely honoured to be hosting this event and being the event sponsor for Safari Guide of the Year. Normally associated to the Eastern Cape, you wouldn't associate Big Five and safari and guiding. That is traditionally been classified up to the low veld and into that area. So from our side, we have come, and I'm about to tell you a little bit of our Kariega story, but we've come a really far way, not only at Kariega, but also with regards to guiding in the Eastern Cape. So this was just a dream. we were not ever going to be a game reserve like we are today. It was originally the dream of a member called Colin Rushmere, and he set up 8 self-catering chalets. That's what it was meant to be, on a small little less than 1,000 hectare property with a couple of grazing and browsing animals, and a game drive would have been an optional extra. And the aim was that you had a little piece of the Eastern Cape up here on the ridge, right close to the beach, close to it's Kenton, the barefoot capital of the world. That was what the plan was. It expanded on a little bit to go on to 30 self-catering chalets, and thank goodness it never took off. The Fuller family then, which were neighbours, Colin and the late, Tony Fuller joined in. They dropped boundaries, and that created the first just under 2,000 hectares on this side of the R343. And that's where the dream started. And the dream was pioneered by Colin. And what Colin wanted was to show off the Eastern Cape, starring conservation in the area, and expand. Take this unique biome and try and create the corridor between us all the way up to Addo. And the rewilding of the Eastern Cape was the start. That was where we wanted to go. So that happened in the mid-1980s. By 1989, the lodge that you are in today, Main Lodge, opened. It didn't have a wellness center. It didn't have a kids program. We definitely didn't have a foundation. And we ran on minimal staff trying to operate a big game reserve in the middle of nowhere. So if you put it in perspective, we had 30 self-catering chalets that slept 108 people. And we never had a traditional restaurant like we've got now. We didn't have a kids program. We had two Land Cruisers that offered game drives. That's how Kariega started. So now, 36 years later, 12,000 hectares later, 21 farms that have become part of Kariega Game Reserve, and we're well on our way with all the neighbouring reserves in the Eastern Cape to link up the corridor to get us to Addo. And the rewilding of the Eastern Cape is very much on its way. What does that mean? So we started off with 2 guards on Kariega. We now sit on 36 guards on Kariega. So guarding in the Eastern Cape, if you just take Kariega Game Reserve, has expanded massively. And then if you take that into consideration, just driving in, most of you coming in from PE would have driven past multiple game reserves, well-known game reserves in South Africa. And so we are honored to be part of the Eastern Cape and part of those game reserves rewilding the Eastern Cape. And who would have thought, when we only looked at 2 giraffe, a couple of zebra, some blesbuck and some impala, we now have the big 5, including cheetah, on Kariega, which you can view. We now, after that first 1,700 hectares, we now include 2 rivers, 1 ocean, of course, a whole foundation which supports 4 different communities. And part of our foundation is we also have a guiding school where we take kids out of the community, train them up as guides, and we have qualified guides on our team of 36 which have come from that school of guiding. So we are extremely proud of the Eastern Cape. And like I mentioned earlier on, most people wouldn't, if you mention the Eastern Cape, you think of Jeffreys Bay, you think of Knysna, you think of some surfing. And we are hoping that by Safari Guide of the Year choosing to be hosted by us here, that we can expose the rest of South Africa to start with and the world after that the Eastern Cape has far more than Jeffreys Bay and Knysna to offer. And we have some extremely amazing guides. If you look at Kariega, we're a little bit unique in the Eastern Cape because we have 2 different biomes that converge on our reserve. So it's a really difficult reserve as far as understanding the biodiversity that happens on this reserve, never mind from the 2 riverines and from the ocean, but just from those 2 unique biomes converging here on Kariega. So for you 5, thank you. We wish you all the luck. My mentor gave me some advice when I first started guiding 25 years ago. He said, everybody can learn. Everybody can learn the knowledge. Everyone, if you come from old school, you do parrot learning, and you've got it. Everyone can get it. But what makes you a special guide is how you make it unique to you and put it across in a story to those who are listening to you to make them interested in your passion, conservation and wildlife. That's what makes you a good guide. And you wouldn't be standing here if you didn't know that. So to you, like Mark said, enjoy your time here at Kariega. Take it all in. There is infinite amount of knowledge around you here. But if the most important thing you do is to listen to those around you, take in the biodiversity around you, and then spread that as you go. And welcome to Kariega. Enjoy it a little bit. I know Cameron, I know you're at the back there somewhere. I'm an R now for you. And please, Kariega is welcoming every single one of you to our family. And I know I'm a bit biased, and we hope and trust you will fall in love with the Eastern Cape as much as us and our family on this side. We've grown from, like I mentioned, 12 people to start with in Kariega. We now sit at just under 400 staff, and no one is moving anywhere. So we hope that you choose us again, whether it be on Safari Guide of the Year or whether it's to come and visit us with family and friends or to recommend the Eastern Cape going forward. Okay, we're a very special section of the country, and our guides will welcome you with open arms. So thank you for choosing Kariega, and welcome to our home, and enjoy the week. Okay.
Well, thank you very, very much to Anne for your wonderful insights for our 5 finalists, and thank you so much for sharing your love and your passion for Kariega and for the Eastern Cape. And we can see that rewilding and conservation in this corner of the world is truly in good hands. So without further ado, everyone, I think it's time to kick off the competition. Storytelling is the first category that we're going to be having a look at tonight. It's a very, very important skill for safari guides. Obviously, we spend a lot of our time out there searching for animals and identifying fauna and flora. But we spend a lot of time with our guests as well, inside the camp and even just out there on the bush while enjoying G&Ts for sundowners or Amarillo coffee in the morning. So we are constantly using storytelling to help impart our passion and to do it in a way that's enjoyable and understandable. So it's a very, very fine skill. And this evening we're going to be having Cameron Schmidt from Pumba Private Game Reserve coming to tell us the first story. I think it's only fitting that we have our first candidate from the Eastern Cape, and we also like to get to know our candidates a little bit before they share a story with us. So I'm going to invite Cameron to please come and join me for Cameron Squared up in the front. Welcome, Cam.
Thank you, thank you.
Cam, so I think, you know, a lot of us are new to the Eastern Cape, and this competition is certainly new to the Eastern Cape, so perhaps you can share a little bit with us about what you think makes the Eastern Cape so special for you.
Well, it's just the whole biodiversity in this area. I mean, the amount of carrying capacity of vegetation that we have here is just unique. I mean, from our bird species, the amount of bird species that we have in this area, to plants, to all of those type of things, and our carrying capacities that we do have here for small size reserves. It's just amazing what we are capable of doing in this area.
And tell me, are there any special species that you think that we should be on the lookout for in the next couple of days? I think we're all very excited to get out here and explore. Is there anything special that's unique to this area that we should look out for?
I would say a lot of bird-wise. We've got very, very unique species in this area, like the Narina trogon, that's seen as the holy grail in this area. I know Kariega have a lot of the sightings, but there by me at Pumba I've probably seen 3 or 4 of them. Heard them a lot, but problem is trying to see them. A lot of, you do get your chorister robins in this area as well, which is quite unique.
Yeah, they are very tricky to see, especially in these thick forest environments.
Yeah.
So Pumba is obviously just up the road, about half an hour away, I believe.
Yep.
Tell us, how long have you been working there and how long have you been guiding for?
So I've been at Pumba for about 6.5 years in total now. I've been guiding for about 10 years in total. The unique thing about our reserve is we're one of the only reserves in the country with 3 roaming white lions. So that is one of the unique specialities that the guests do come for. We don't feed them, they're self-sustaining, everything like that, living their life.
Excellent. And what do you think made you first want to become a safari guide? What was that spark that ignited your passion?
So I would say, how can I put this? Sorry. I'm only used to speaking in front of 6 to 8 people, not 30. Yeah, one vehicle. No, so it's a bit in my story. So I would say personally, I did have a sighting on Pumba that did change my aspect a lot, watching an elephant give birth. So it was one of the most unique sightings I've ever seen in my life, and I was still level 1 guy. I didn't think I was going to go anywhere, but that ignited that spark and that hunger, just watching something like that and seeing how close they are to being human.
So that's what ignited that spark for you, and that's what just led you to believe that this was going to be a career for life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, you've certainly done very well, and you've gotten yourself to this stage. It's an incredible honor to be a finalist in the competition, so we congratulate you. And I hope that this few minutes has helped you to loosen up. It is nerve-wracking speaking in front of a big crowd here. It is much bigger than your average safari vehicle, so we look forward to you sharing your story with us. The floor is all yours.
Okay, so my story, I sat trying to write this thing down, trying to get it right word for word, but at the end of the day, I was just going to speak from the heart. So my story originates from even before I started guiding. So how I about this industry, this market day, I think I was in grade 12, so there was a market day at one of the schools, and Ulavane was there. It intrigued me in a way. So anyway, I went to my mother, said, okay, this is what I want to do. Got to it, and I promise you the first week I was like, no, this is not for me. I'm not into this. But I gave it a chance, gave it the go-ahead, and once I finished that course, the feeling was amazing, and I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So I was at that awkward stage where I was at 20 years old, and everyone knows in this industry you need a PDP in order to drive paying guests, and I could not obtain that PDP. So I managed to find a game reserve where looked intriguing, where I could guide once I got to 21, started at that reserve, and I was like the lot lamaki. I got sent to go do this, do that, run around, pull wattles, all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And one of the things that I did anti-poaching patrols. And funny enough, this story actually happened during the day. So I was phoned to say, okay, we need to go find specific rhinos. So anyway, I jump in my Land Cruiser. Back then, I drive Land Rovers now. Anybody want to experience Pumba's Land Rovers, come to us. So anyway, I head now onto the reserve, and now not really guarding, haven't had trailing or anything like that, finding animals. So I'm thinking, how am I going to find these things first of all? So being that age, you want to impress, you want to, go out there, and driving around, I probably spent about 4 hours looking for these things. Eventually came close to an area, but there was almost like this wattle forest. So I'm sure you've seen in the Eastern Cape, we've got a lot of Australian black wattle. We are trying to remove it, but it is everywhere. So came around that area, and as I came around the corner, poof, there were about 4 male buffaloes. And I thought, no, let me just sit here and waste a bit of time and just watch them. And I was all alone in the vehicle. And the way the wind was blowing was that it was blowing from north to south. So anything around this area, the buffaloes wouldn't have smelt. So sitting there a bit, all of a sudden the buffs get up, start heading off, and I end up following them. And as we come around the corner, there's 2 male lions and 4 females. So now these lions see these buffaloes, and I'm like, oh my word, I've been in this working industry for 3 months. I'm going to see my first kill, and I'm all alone. So these lions end up going after these buffs, and out of all the excitement, like it's middle, I I just start calling on the radio, these lions are making a kill on this buffalo. So they grabbed it, watched the big male go under the neck, another big male on top of the back, and the female was just, well, two of the females were just trying to, you know, get a good grip on it. And anyway, so I radio this in, and the head guard of that property starts calling back over the radio what is going on, and I'm like, the lions are killing the buffalo. And I was told on the radio to now chase these these lions off the buffalo. And I'm thinking, I'm 3 months in this industry and now I need to do this. I don't know how to do this. What must I do? Run after it, use my vehicle? I don't know what to do. So anyway, started the vehicle, charged up towards them, but where they had taken the buff down was flat, man-made dam wall here. So as the lions now run off, the buff is next to my vehicle like this, and the lions are now on top here. So I'm looking at lions up like this, and I'm thinking, oh my word, I don't have any windows or windscreens, these things are going to jump in. And I turn around and I look at the buff, and he turns and literally hits my vehicle. But I went down like this. I don't know why I did that, I don't know what it was going to help, but he hit it so hard that the back wheel, it literally snapped the rim off like that. So my vehicle was stuck now. But I didn't realize that. So now I start and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get out of here. But I don't know if anyone remembers when they did their driver's license for the first time. You sit there on that hill start and your foot is... So I had that problem. So I kept on stalling it. I thought that was the problem, and then I revved it higher, tried. Nothing was working. Whole commotion that I've had now with the lions, this buff now turns and starts running after the lions. So I'm like, okay, I'm fine now. But anyway, the rest, the head guard comes rushing around the corner like this. But the area that I am, the vehicle is here, and she's probably about 10 meters away sitting here. So shouts at me, I need to get in this vehicle. So I'm like, okay, so open the door. But in that moment, I start running up. My phone falls out of my pocket, and I'm a 20-year-old guy, I need my phone. So as I open the door, I see my phone there, and I see the buff coming, so I go run, grab the phone, and as I got into the car, the buff literally missed the door by this much. So now thinking, just 3 months in the industry, I'm like, geez, is this really for me? So, like, I almost died today. But looking back at it now with this whole situation that I went through, when we have a saying, when you're wet behind the ears in the new industry, if I look at it now and how I am today, I would have done things a lot different, because what was ironic about that whole situation, 2 weeks later those lions killed that buff anyway. So for me, nature is going to take its course. So that was one of the biggest turning points for me, is just to let things happen. Only problem in that area was buffs were super expensive in the Eastern Cape, as you know, TB free. So they didn't want lions eating them. But that's one of the biggest changing factors for me when it came to ethics, is just sitting and observing and letting nature take its course. So yeah, that is my whole changing point as a guard, was one of those incidents. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Cam, for your wonderful story that you shared with us this evening. I think it's a great lesson for all of us that we should let nature take its course, and the bush does as the bush does.
100%.
But it certainly sounds like an exciting start to your career, and it's a great story to leave us with for a couple of nightcaps this evening. So folks, we are going to get off to our nightcaps. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Please don't forget to join us tomorrow. We are streaming this live to our YouTube channel through our Facebook and Instagram pages. So please do share with your family and friends, and join us tomorrow for more.